Hello, dear friends. We are tired of so much concealment and secrecy. Opinion piece. Contact revealed. Another wow signal. They forced to hide it. The signal is not terrestrial. Coming from Alpha Centauri. Perfect mathematical sequence. The signal that should not exist. Private astronomers were silenced. Let's start. A modest former NASA employee believes he has discovered the first extraterrestrial contact with Alpha Centauri, but the Alphathians have been secretly contacting humans for a long time, because they themselves are descendants of terrestrial humans. This happens when there is not enough information and people believe gunpowder has been discovered, even though it has been discovered for a long time. Alpha Centauri CB is an exoplanet orbiting with the habitable zone of the red dwarf star Proxima Centauri, the closest star to the Sun. It is located approximately 4.23 light-years from Earth, in the constellation of Centaurus. It is the closest exoplanet to our solar system, as well as the closest known potentially habitable exoplanet. This is his interesting story that happened this year. In quotes, something from somewhere else and a very different society contacted us in 2025, according to Ruby. I worked at NASA for 11 years. Aliens contacted us in 2025 and we didn't say anything. We were never supposed to say anything, but I am tired of hiding. I spent 11 years working at NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. It wasn't a high-level manager or anything like that, just a systems engineer with a security clearance and a curious mind. I worked on signal decoding systems, encryption protocols, and later AI-based pattern recognition for space data. Nothing glamorous, but in May 2025, something landed on my desk that changed my life. Something not from Earth, and what followed for the next 6 weeks was the biggest cover-up I have ever witnessed. Bigger than Roswell and bigger than Area 51. The signal. The signal that shouldn't exist. This was contact, real contact, and we were forced to cover it up. I am breaking the silence now because I can't sleep at night anymore. On May 29, 2025, we received an unusual alert on our Deep Space Listening Array in California. We track thousands of bursts of noise every day. Solar radiation, comets, satellite interference, mostly junk. But this one was narrowband laser precise and coming from a fixed location, Proxima Centauri B. If you don't know, it's the closest Earth-like exoplanet we know of. We have always hoped of might support life, but we never got much of a clue until that day. A message we couldn't ignore. The signal came in pulses. At first, we thought it was a repeating binary, but then someone ran it through our experimental semiotic decoder. That tool was built to recognize non-human symbolic logic. Basically, if aliens sent a language not based on sounds or letters, this could help identify patterns. The result? A perfect mathematical sequence. Then another, then another. It ended with a set of prime numbers, 3, 5, 7, 11, repeated 5 times. It's not a natural formation. It's a signature. Overlaying the waveforms, we saw modulated harmonics embedded in the spaces, like someone whispering between the beeps. We increased the frequency, and that's when we heard a voice, or what we believe was a voice, speaking in tones we couldn't decipher, not in English or any other human language, but rhythmic, deliberate, and alive. They are aware of us. We worked 72 hours straight. Multiple departments were involved. Linguists, code breakers, and even a couple of people from DARPA who showed up unannounced. By June 2nd, we had enough to conclude this. The signal was deliberate. It was sent repeatedly once every 88 minutes, contained structured symbolic communication, and was aimed directly at us. The veto. The same day, my boss came into the lab and told us to stop everything. In quotes, this has been elevated to clearance level 7, effective immediately. All data is compartmentalized. No external communications, no records. This is no longer under NASA jurisdiction. He was sweating when he said it. I'd never seen him like this before. The meeting that changed everything. We had a closed-door meeting on June 4th. Only 14 people. Phones locked. No internet. Just a screen displaying a waveform. A man from some agency, whose name I don't yet know, chimed in and said, "What you are seeing is first contact. We have confirmed it through multiple sets in Australia, India, and the European Space Agency. The signal isn't terrestrial. It's not a satellite. It's not military. It's intelligent." We sat in silence. Then he said, "There will be no announcement." Why did they decide to remain silent? According to this man, the government had a protocol in place since the late 80s for something like this. It was called the Eco Directive. It wasn't public, not even available through the Freedom of Information Act, which is a law that grants all citizens the right to access to federal government information. In the event of a confirmed contact, they would assess the threat level based on the content and behavior of the signal. They would monitor the global society response to any leak. They would delay disclosure indefinitely if the risk to national unity or economic stability was determined to be high. Guess what? The decision was made within 48 hours, not to inform the public, not because it was dangerous, but because it was too serious, too destabilizing. The message wasn't hostile, but it was clear. This is the most accurate translation we could get from the artificial intelligence. In quotes, "We see you. You are close. We are extending observation. Contact is deliberate. Approach is slow. Prepare for proximity." Close quotes. Cover up. On June 6, access to all remote telescopes was blocked. Private astronomers who detected anomalies were contacted or, in some cases, silenced. An amateur in the UK uploaded a video about Proxima B's pulses to TikTok. It garnered 3 million views in 8 hours. Then the video disappeared. His account was blocked. After that, he posted on Reddit once saying, "They came to my house." Then nothing. The few outlets that started covering the strange radio bursts suddenly dropped the story. I tried sending tips anonymously. They never responded. Even the Reddit thread I started under burner was deleted in 5 minutes. It was like trying to scream into the void. So here we are. It's July 2025 and no one's talking about it anymore. The public missed its chance. The news cycle moved on, but the signal, it hasn't stopped. The pulses keep coming, quieter now, as if they knew we were ignoring them. And I can't help but wonder what will happen if we keep pretending we didn't hear. Maybe this was a test. Maybe they were watching how we reacted. What if the response was fear and silence? What kind of message does that send? I don't want fame. I don't want attention. I want the truth. You don't have to believe me. Honestly, part of me hopes you don't, because that means you will try to prove me wrong, and maybe in doing so you will start digging. Maybe you will find what I found. There are still files out there, copies, signals recorded by amateurs, snapshots saved before the purge. Some already have them. I see you on the forums. Don't stop. Don't give up. We made contact and we are ruining it. End of the story. Curious. The fake alien invasion of 2025 is meant to scare humanity into accepting a world government. Once you have eliminated the root causes of war within yourself, you will be at peace with everything, according to Poet Talk. When a republic becomes corrupt, there is only one way. It must be destroyed. A corrupt system is beyond repair. A stopgap solution won't work. A verified government document admits that the population is necessary to achieve physical solvency. According to Mike Adams, they are no longer hiding. The population means genocide. Two economic systems operate in parallel. New solar and wind energy programs are being shut down. The latter is a wind farm. Electric vehicle subsidies have been cancelled, and electric vehicle companies have lost money. According to Mr. Poole, the authorization code was released on August 6th. No sirens, no press leaks, just a discrete blip in the quantum signal. Since then, it's been a game of dominoes. The media grid satellite transponders over Atlanta, New York, and London are now under provisional military control. Have a good rest, because cabal hunting season is about to begin, says Benjamin Fulford. For example, when the US threatened to force India to buy expensive American oil instead of cheap Russian oil, they basically told it to go away. I won't hurt India, but it will bring it closer to China. It won't hurt India, but it will bring it closer to China and Russia. The tariff on India is intended to put pressure on the BRICS and increase revenue. Despite all the propaganda about tariffs, actual economic data shows they are hurting the economy. As an example of failed efforts, last week they tried once again to use simulated fear events to intimidate us into submission. That's why we witnessed an attempt to trigger major earthquakes and tsunamis in Russia, Japan, Southeast Asia, and Turkey. Thanks to a warning from French intelligence, the White Hats neutralized those attacks. Breaking news. The US will sanction Russia on Friday after the ultimatum to end the war in Ukraine is met. Trump wants or plans to meet with Putin next week and will organize a meeting between himself, Putin, and Zelensky immediately afterward. Trump says he will withdraw disaster relief funds from cities and states that boycott Israeli companies. Russia terminates the nuclear treaty after a lightning strike captures British officials planning a false flag catastrophe, according to Sorchafal. Economy. OPEC Plus increases its crude oil supply by 547,000 barrels per day starting in September. Trump raises tariffs on India for Russian oil purchases to 50%. India and Brazil reportedly continue to buy Russian oil despite threats. Canada seeks to follow Mexico's example on tariff negotiations. Middle East. Israel orders new forced displacements for residents of Gaza City. The EU warns of a very serious humanitarian situation in Gaza and unprecedented destruction. Hamas estimates that 853 trucks with aid entered Gaza, while Israel reports 1,950. Doctors Without Borders concludes that aid distribution centers in Gaza are sites of orchestrated murders. Europe. Germany's industrial production is at its lowest level since 2020. Germany expresses discontent with von der Leyen's decisions. The US and the EU have agreed on a new trade pact that includes, among other things, a zero tariffs on US imports to European markets and the base tariffs of 15% on all EU products arriving in the US. Spain. The heat wave in Spain will last at least until August 13th. Spain records a new population record with 49.3 million inhabitants due to immigrants. Andalusia highlights that olives and wine will be significantly affected by tariffs. The IBEX 35 rises 1.06% and is heading towards 14,700 points. A new seismic swarm has been recorded in the Cañadas del Teide, with 700 small earthquakes. Spain rules out purchasing F-35 fighter jets and will opt for European alternatives. The Juan Carlos I, Spain's only aircraft carrier, will be limited to operating only helicopters, as it will no longer have vertical takeoff aircraft. Americas. The Mexican government classifies sargassum as a fishery resource. UNHCR recognizes Mexico for its leadership in protecting refugees and displaced persons. Peru expresses its protest against Colombia's accusation of appropriating its territory. Milei again vetoes the pension increase law approved by Congress. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.